what I have definitely come to the conclusion of is like we are still far away from removing the human completely. You know, like we've reintegrated people into some of these automations because like on its own, it's just not good enough. The context, the understanding, the relationship aspect of it, like we're just not there. And so it's really like, okay, how can we now build with checkpoints? Even the agentic side of things, like we have an approve, disapprove, or like flag for tomorrow kind of workflow in there. Because like I need my media buyers actually to read this and be like, does this actually make sense? Like, is this correct? And I don't think we're at like the full-blown AI.
Welcome back to the last episode of Growth Lab Sessions Season 1. I'm Joao, CEO of Stealth White Label, and my mission is pretty simple: to help marketing agencies grow and build sustainable success. Today's guest is a performance marketing operator who has built and scaled multiple 7- and 8-figure Shopify brands. He's the founder of Blue Water Marketing and has over 10 years of marketing experience. Chris works directly with founders to help them fix fundamentals in their marketing, in their sales operation, financial clarity, and operational discipline. Okay, awesome. Well, Chris, great to have you on. Let's start with your journey. Tell us a little bit of how you got here.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate having me on. So the journey started back in 2011. I started working at kind of large agencies up in the Northeast, the Boston area, for almost a decade before starting my agency back in 2017.
Wow. Okay. So, and you started your agency in 2017. Now tell us about your agency, the name, what you do, and who
Beautiful.
you help.
Yeah. So company is called Blue Water Marketing. We help 7- and 8-figure e-com agencies scale with paid media, email marketing, and financial clarity. So the contribution margin, customer acquisition cost. So it's creative at scale with as efficient media buying as we can possibly do.
So how fast can you scale e-commerce companies?
That's a great question. I would say it's subjective to client goals, right? I would say depending on where brands are, sometimes slow, sometimes fast. It really comes down to like, what is that bandwidth for drops in efficiency look like from a timing perspective? You know, if we can run at scale, have a couple bad days, but scale back up, then we can do it very quickly. If cash flow on the business is tight, obviously it takes a little bit more time. So we've scaled fast and aggressive, and we have also scaled over 12-month periods where we increased 40-50% of the brand, but on a much slower level.
Yeah. And where did your passion for e-commerce begin?
That's a good question. Transparently, it was an understanding of the cash flow to my business from lead gen clients versus e-com brands. I think the complexity of e-commerce allowed for larger retainers compared to like the local roofing company. So it was really more of a, hey, we can do so much more and have more control over outcomes with e-com than lead gen, when we have to figure out, okay, what's the sales process? What's the follow-up process? What does the nurturing sequence look like? Why haven't all these leads closed? We have more tangible results on the e-com side that like these purchases came from Google, Facebook, Klaviyo. So we were able to control the outcomes a little better, which made retainers a little bit easier to close and sign larger ones versus like the home service companies.
Right. And so you started Blue Water in 2017, is that correct? So how long did you work with, who were your initial clients?
So in the very beginning, it was local lead gen companies. It was,
If you're an agency owner looking to scale your agency, explore our white label solutions. With 14 plus years of experience across 120 niches, we help agency owners take care of everything from onboarding to reporting of their clients. We take care of all of the fulfillment for you, running ads, SEO, content, and deliver it to your clients under your brand. So if you want to learn more, click the link below to book a call, and I'll see you there. Now, back to the pod.
People I knew, door knocking, cold calling, really kind of getting the start, coming from like large enterprise clients at the agencies I worked for, then scaling down when I started this to those local businesses, really put a different spin on budget and financial constraints. It was really important to be really efficient, opposed to a $30 million a year ad budget when like the goal was brand views and video views. So it was really like a conundrum in the beginning. And I would say after a couple of years, I don't know, I wanted to get back into larger businesses, ones that really had a full understanding of what growth looks like. And that's where the pivot to e-com really came in, probably around the 2020 mark.
2020. Yeah. And so you pivoted after about 3 years of running your agency. I think that's a pretty good time to understand, as an agency owner, who are the clients that you want to work with, right? What are the challenges that you want to tackle? I think that sometimes a lot of agency owners may get stuck on thinking about their niche in the beginning and so worried about, I have to figure that out now, right? Like I have to know the exact niche. What is my perfect niche, whatever. So I think that the 3 year, it's a good time for you to understand the types of clients, the retainers, who are your team members that you want to hire on to help with like the clients. Is that kind of like your experience in the first 3 years? And then in 2020, you're like, all right, this is it?
Yeah, I would say like in the beginning, it was more of out of necessity, right? Like you're just trying to keep the doors open, bills paid, so there's definitely that side of it. Then when diving in, it was like, all right, what do I really enjoy working on? And I think that was the pivot because, how many different spins can you run on a roofing offer, right? Like at the end of the day, it's a roof. For e-com, like there's the avatars, there's the personas, the total addressable market is so much bigger for potential customers that e-com was just more enjoyable, the creative aspect of it, all of it. So I think it was both an enjoyment side of it and then also the financial outcomes, where with the lead gen, especially nowadays, there has to be such a focus on like what happens next. Lead comes in. Okay, do you have GHL set up? What's your CRM look like? Do you have automations triggering? Following that whole sales process, where in e-com, like I mentioned earlier, it's really tangible. Your MER is above target, your CAC is below target. Okay, like we can keep scaling. So I think from an operational side, I wanted to dive just deeper into e-com.
And so e-commerce obviously like has its own challenges, right? I think, yeah. And so I think that e-commerce has been, or it needs to be very operational savvy, right? You really got to worry about margins. You also have a lot of branding going on, pricing strategies, retention strategies, right? Like, what is the ideal e-commerce client for you? How do you define it these days?
So I think from a priority perspective, it's understanding their margins first, right? So like we've had clients come to us, we want to 10x our revenue this year. Margins are at 30%. There's not that much budget. Lifetime value hasn't been established yet. Like that's a very ambitious, more than likely not achievable goal. Right. So I want to make sure that brands have, 60 on the very low end to like 85, 90% margin. We know that we can then squeeze some juice out of customer acquisition cost in order to scale pretty aggressively on Meta. And then on the retention side, like making sure that SMS and emails going. So from just a pure revenue number, really 5 million to like 30 million a year is our sweet spot. But again, taking into consideration, like especially on that lower end, what are your margins? What are your top selling SKUs? What are your SKUs? What are the margins for those SKUs, and really understanding, like, can we hit goals, or is this just like an arbitrary number that looks good on paper?
And so first of all, it needs to start with high margins, right? Like that's the number one key. And we're talking 90% margins. Like what's a product that has 90% margins?
I know some, but I think my clients might be very upset if I share that. I would say from a broad stroke,
broad strokes,
certain sporting goods have really good margins. Apparel is pretty good. Apparel is going to be tough though, because like you mentioned, the branding aspect, like what makes your t-shirt different than Nike's or whatever the brand might be. There's enough of them, and I think that's the difference, right? Like we've tried doing it with lower margin, sub 50%. And when I say margin, like delivered to the customer. So it's like
not only cost.
Yeah, exactly. So that 80, 85 is like a really great number for aggressive scaling.
Okay. And what about average ticket value,
AOV?
like AOV? What is the sweet spot for you there?
Yeah, so just from a purely like mathematical equation, right? Like I think anywhere from like $100 or let's call it $80 to $120 is a very simple purchasing decision. I don't have to talk to my wife about buying something for $100, right? Like I just do it. There's really no thought process behind spending that money. So if you think about it, if you have an $80 AOV, your margin, you're getting that for $25. That's giving you enough wiggle room there to then acquire customers on Meta for $20, $30, still giving you margin there to contribute to, your operating expenses and profit.
So for products that are in the $150 range, right? As a price, do you see like what's an average CPA that you see?
It's varying across the board right now. We have one client right in that, a little bit over at like the 180 mark, and their cost per acquisition is like $35. So like they're printing.
That's cheap.
Yeah, they're
right?
printing right now.
Yeah.
And their LTV is like 2.5x. So like their contribution margin is phenomenal. It's really, we have another client with over $1,000 AOV with roughly a $200 customer acquisition cost right now. So they're still printing too.
That's super good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is there a specific math equation that e-commerce companies need to understand in terms of their LTV? What is it?
Yeah, LTV is really challenging. So not to get super nerdy here, but you basically have to blend your new customer versus existing customer report in Shopify over a 12-month or 18-month cohort, and then take your cohort analysis over that same time frame, kind of blend those two together, and then you sub out your COGS based on those new orders, and there's what your lifetime value. I highly recommend just dropping everything into Claude, putting those reports in, and asking it to formulate different cohorts and lifetime values. It'll make life way easier for everybody.
So for an e-commerce company, what should they see in terms of like they put the reports into AI, right? And then like what do they want to see and look for?
You want to see like a 3-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio. That's the perfect sweet spot in e-com, is like if you're at or above a 3-to-1 ratio from your LTV to CAC, you're healthy. Like you should be more aggressive in scaling to see what that next push really looks like.
Okay. So we're talking about LTV of $300 and a CAC of $100.
Yep. To keep math super easy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. Do you feel like a lot of e-commerce brands are not doing retention correctly?
Yes. Yeah. I think, so based on that simple formula, and I think that's where like the smaller brands that we work with, like bringing that financial clarity is really important because they don't like, dude, we're all so stuck in our businesses. You're just trying like running on the wheel, and that financial clarity is so important that will then lead to that retention side. It's like, what are you just sending out spam emails like of the next offer every week? Have you ever conveyed your founder story? What element can you build up like the community side of it more than just trying to sell products? I had a conversation with a client a few months ago focused on CAC. Every conversation was customer acquisition costs. I was like, man, when was the last time like you communicated to someone who canceled this? It's a subscription based business. When was the last time you asked what could have been done better? Why did they leave? Having more of that, like just a simple cancellation workflow to try to get some information, insights into the customer themselves. And I think that's what gets missed a lot on the retention side. It
Okay.
becomes just a
Yeah,
play to
that's not
get
something you
more
think about.
sales from email instead of like, how can you get someone instead of only having a 2x LTV ratio, how can you get them to like a 3.5 to 1? Because like that impact
Right.
to the business is huge.
Mm-hmm. In terms of, well, yeah, I'll go back to CPA because I'm pretty interested in the like low CPA for e-commerces. But in terms of, like e-commerces are always generating a lot of traffic to their websites, right? Have you seen a big lift with these new companies, like not too new, maybe like 2-year-old companies that are able to capture email, like contact information off of somebody just hits the landing page and put them in like email campaigns? Like, have those been good for your clients?
We haven't tested those. Honestly, the
Okay.
email side of the business is like one, two, third tier down in terms of like what our systems and priorities are. I know of them. I
Yeah.
know some of my friends use them. I just haven't implemented.
And now going back to CPA a little bit, like low CPA, how does a e-commerce brand or an agency generate a low CPA for their clients, right? Because I'm assuming that it's not just running like conversion campaigns to sell products. Maybe there's a little bit more sophisticated, or it's just as simple as that because the product is so good, the pricing is so good. Like, how do you think about that when you have a new client and you're like, all right, we gotta, the client that's just asking you about CAC, lower CAC, lower CAC. Like, how do you think about the strategy in order to run those ads and get good acquisition costs?
Yeah. So great question. Really an onion that we have to unpeel here on this. But I think most of the time we do just run conversion campaigns. So what happens in generally is depending on the budget, maybe if we're only taking 5% of the budget and running it towards more top of the funnel, that'll feed that bottom of the funnel. But our approach, especially with the whole Andromeda update, has really just been creative volume and then cost controls at times, right? So coming into an account, if the client's goal is they have $100 CAC, but it needs to be 75, that's a 25% reduction in customer acquisition cost. If it's a $200 CAC and they need to be at 50, like we're probably not the right fit because it's just not achievable. So like understanding that part first. But on the flip side, that 25% reduction, it's like generally we see a very disorganized account structure. So we need just to clean up everything and then do a dive into like the themes in the what has worked and then inject more just creative volume into that. And then that last step would be more of the cost controls. Like if our average CAC is 100, can we put bids in place to be 98, 95, 90? Can we bring that down slightly to almost retrain the algorithm? Because I think Meta becomes accustomed to your cost per purchase hovers around $100. It's like we need to almost refire up that algorithm in order to reduce that cost per purchase metric. So it's like a 3-phased approach. It's like clean up, inject net new creative, and then start squeezing the algorithm a little bit to retrain it, in my opinion.
Okay. And then do you have, in terms of like the Andromeda update and like the amount of input, of creative input, like how do you think about, volume of creative input? Like, do you break it up into angles, right? Like offers, SKUs, like how does that work?
Great question. So truthfully, August 25 was a really great month for almost all of our clients. Like we crushed. And then September and October really didn't crush. Like we had CAC double for some clients. Like it was, and come to find out, it was like the final rollout of the Andromeda update. So over the next 30 days, I was just on a coaching call yesterday. Like this is what I did
Hey, if you're an agency owner and you're looking for talent overseas, I invite you to look at our recruiting services of Stealth. We place media buyers, account managers, designers, and technical people into your agency, all working out of Brazil. And now the benefit to working out of Brazil is that we specialize in Brazilian talent and they work Eastern Standard Time. So you don't have to worry about your media buyer working, 10 hours ahead of you. You're going to be getting media buyers that work in the same time zone. Everybody speaks fluent English and are specialists at what they do. If that sounds good to you, then click the link below and book a call with our team. Now, back to the pod.
Scraped over 200 YouTube videos using an AI. I took all of the transcripts. I took all of Meta's publicly released information and really just built an entire project based of what is this thing and what needs to be done to compensate for these now net new requirements that Facebook's telling us we need to do. From there, put together a 35-page outline for my team. Hey, read through this. This, based on all of this data, this is what we should and shouldn't do. And then consolidated that down, obviously, into process documents for the team. So the long-winded answer to your question is we really found that essentially Andromeda, in theory, is mapping out the entire funnel process to the user. So we started to build out stages of awareness, angles, and all these different touch points for these various avatars and inject them all into a single ad set. And we're seeing that the spend is you'll have, let's say, $1,000 on this ad, 900 on the next ad, 800 on this. And I literally have ad accounts where I've never seen in 12 years of managing ads spend being allocated to so many ads within one single ad set that I'm this is real now, because last year it would be you have one ad spending $5,000 a day or whatever, and then the rest of them were $17, $50. That was the winning ad premise that we've all done for so many years, where now I'm seeing just allocation of budget being dispersed across 30 ads, and you're this is crazy. So my hypothesis almost is validated in that it is literally running through all of these different creative assets and messaging to show the right ad to the right person.
Yeah. Wow. Guys, if you didn't understand what Chris just talked about, please go back 3 minutes of this conversation of him answering this last question. Cause I've been seeing a lot of the same from my side. I spend some money for my agency ads, right? And have a lot of also client accounts, but I have the same experience, right? one ad gets all of the budget, 90% of the budget, one ad, like one creative never spends. And what we've been doing is really getting like, so for agency ads, right, for my side to capture clients for my agency, we've been doing a lot of mapping out all of like these different thoughts, right, where the business owner is going to hire us or not, and creating ads for those thoughts sort of thing, you know, because it's like we're having a conversation and like the phone is listening to everything, right? And it's like, what stage of the funnel are we? Because like it listens, right? So like, what is my question? What is my thought right now about a particular product? And so, for example, let's say that I'm considering switching agencies, right? There should be an ad for that. Like, are you considering switching e-commerce agencies, right? Have you been having meetings where CAC is just not working for your business, right? Like, just like all of these thoughts is the nerve that you got to find now in order to place that right creative. That's been my approach, in my opinion. And we've been doing so much more of that. Our cost per booked meeting has lowered and our quality per meeting has increased from like a agency to business perspective. Like, is that what you're seeing? Like, how are you mapping out that client journey?
Yeah. So from the agency perspective or the e-com brands?
Well, I guess like we can talk about both.
Yeah, I mean, they're both relative. So let's say we have, I don't know, I'm looking around for products.
Rings. Let's talk about a ring.
I don't have any experience on rings, but that's a tough one. Are we doing smart rings or are we doing just regular?
We can do Aura.
All right.
We can do Aura. Let's talk about Aura.
So I don't have one, so this is very broad. But like the problem, so we start with the first stage of awareness. Now we're only going to create like, let's say 10% of ads around that. Because like generally first stage of awareness, they might not even be looking to a solution because they don't know their problem yet. And they might just be complacent with the problem they have in their life. But that next problem aware, like what are these things for supplements? I mean, it's like all these supplements solve different problems. The Aura ring, like you have health, sleep, all these different things that are contributing to your life. So we want to create all of these problem ads about all these potentials. Then solution awares. Now they know they have the problem. Okay, what aspect of the Aura ring solves all of these problems on an individual basis, right? Maybe I just have sleep problems, not stress problems. Maybe I have all of the problems. Like really trying to hammer down on that. So to your point with the agency side, it's like problem one, Q4 wasn't what you were hoping for. Q1, it's your agency not bringing the clarity you feel you need to scale in 2026. Problem number 3, are your Facebook ads still not performing after the Andromeda update? Problem, like you can just start listing off, they all have a bunch of problems. Tariffs, contributing to reduced margin, like all of these issues that these brands are having, or us as agencies, listing all those out. And then from there, we use a lot of AI. I think everyone should these days, right? Like, here are all the problems. Use deep research to find solutions and how they link back to your offer. Then all of a sudden you have this. Now it's like, okay, now create a bunch of hooks for all of these things. And you just created like 40 different ads that now you just send to your creative team or, Gemini, whatever you're using to get all these ads made, and then just dump them into one ad set and let the algorithm find these people. I mean, I click on agency ads all the time or coaching or whatever. Now I'm getting served all these different offers, right? So the theory is like the algorithm got smarter. Apparently it's now able to show ads 10,000 times faster to the user than it used to. And so the idea is like feed this system as much as possible, but not just fluff. Like be deliberate in what you're trying to do here, who you're trying to attract. And I think that's like the shift is like, as an original marketer at these huge brands, like it was all about messaging and the branding and all this. Then as a media buyer, it was like, let's tweak the bid by 10 cents to see if we can squeeze out a little bit more efficiency and like run all these lookalikes and, have this crazy complex structure. And I think now it's a pivot back to like, we just have to be really good marketers again, which is kind of more fun because then you're like digging. You're not just like, oh, this looked like 7 to 9% crushes across all my accounts. Like I'm going to run this with a bid cap and, like it kind of like hacky things. And now it's like, hey, are we good marketers or not?
Now the technicality is just like removed from everything, right? You don't have to be technical anymore to be brilliant. You have to have an imagination.
For sure.
You have to think, which is kind of like some people are saying, oh, you don't have to think anymore because AI is thinking for you. No, you have to think more. Yeah. You have to think more because you got to solve like more of the complex problems, and the technical aspect is a lot easier, right? And so the imagination is really what's the limit right now. The limit is your imagination.
I completely agree.
Now, you said that Meta is serving ads 10,000 times faster than before. Like, what does that mean?
So, I mean, I'm not like the meta algorithm expert, but based on all of that deep research I did and like really, because it was impactful. I mean, September really for the agency was tough. We churned clients. We had a lot of fires to put out. A lot of our clients stayed, like God bless them. We've rebounded. But in theory, like the way it used to work was like we would create these ads. We would select our audience, yoga. And Facebook would then show the ad to the yoga people. And then the results would come in and we'd make adjustments. In theory, what it's saying now is like the data and how it's delivering the ad delivery unit itself is working so much faster and tracking us so much differently that whatever chips they're using now, it's more than likely based on the CVR and everything, able to show ads to the right people at the right time, 10,000 times faster. So it no longer needs the yoga pool. It knows that Susie does yoga and last week just bought like a yoga mat. Like it knows that. So now it's showing the headband ads to Susie because it's a complementary product and she's already in that stage of awareness that like she's doing yoga. Yeah. It's wild.
That's amazing for like marketers. Like it's so exciting for advertisers.
For sure. Yeah. So like on a very dumbed down version from what I have gathered, like that is literally the premise of what it's doing now.
So on that premise, let's like switch a little bit, and I appreciate you being so generous with your insights into running an e-commerce agency. I've learned a lot from this conversation so far, but switching gears a little bit into running the agency, right? And we're talking about AI. We've been talking a little bit about AI and like its benefits, pros, cons. Do you think, what do you think is the fate for us in the next 2 years in terms of like, you're developing a lot of things that replace, right? Creatives, media buyers. Now, what do you think is our fate?
I've had calls with friends of mine who are much bigger agency owners than I am. And it's like the one question that we all keep asking each other. Like every couple months I get on a call with a few of my friends who are really successful. And it's the same question. It's like, okay, another 2 months have passed. Like, what do we think's next? Like, what is the rate? Like, what's our survival rate look like? I don't know. Like, I know that as a very nerdy marketer, agency owner, I wouldn't say my confidence levels are like through the roof.
Okay.
Even with conversations I've been having with clients, like, I don't know, but what I do know is like I'm preparing for whatever comes next, right? So like I would say from an operational perspective, like the agency human service delivery continues to be refined and worked through. Like it's the beginning of the new year, we're already changing things to get better. Like, so I think the delivery aspect is still super important. The concerning part is like, we all have access to the same tools. And I think that is potentially like, why is someone going to pay an agency to use the same tools that they can use? So like going back to the operations side, we just have to know how to use them way better than them so that the results are still better than what they could get. But on the flip side, agencies still exist because business owners don't have enough time to do everything, right? So like back in the day, no one knew how to take out print ads at a newspaper. So companies would hire an agency to make the ads, purchase the traditional media, get the ad placed. Facebook ads has been around since 2011, probably 2012. And we're still in business because business owners don't necessarily have the time, knowledge, or understanding to run Facebook ads effectively. So like that's the other caveat. Like that's the shiny part where it's like, hey, everything might still be fine because business owners only have so much bandwidth and they might not be good marketers. They're really good roofers or operations people. So I think there's still going to be that like balance. What I'm trying to do is make sure that we're built for whatever does come down the road.
And in terms of being built for what does come down the road, you have been building some products yourself, right? Like what is the product that you've built in order to help your team or potentially sell to other businesses?
Yeah, so we've been building a lot. Like I hired developers, a CTO. Like we're going more on like a tech company that does agency services, I would say would be like the weird hybrid. So we've built, workflows and automations that like trigger based on outcomes. We have Slack notifications going to our media buyers that like, hey, there's an anomaly here. This cost per purchase over the last 3 days has doubled. Really like alerts based systems. We have built an entire internal agency tool that does all of our audits, does all of everything we need, performance dashboards for our clients. Like we've built that so that if and when I decide to sell the company, not only do we have like the agency contract values, but we also have this entire tech stack that can be plugged into any other agency for efficiency and gains. Then on the flip side, we have a more B2B, B2C SaaS tool that we are slowly rolling out called Ad IQ, which is exactly what it sounds like ad intelligence for Meta, where we're incorporating creative strategy, agentic media buying, and AI static ads completely at scale for a fraction of the price of a graphic designer. So on 2 tickets, I'm kind of hedging my bets, I suppose. Like I'm putting $50 on black and $50 on red, that I can have the tool for the consumer if they need it, but I also have the B2B infrastructure for the agency, depending on what route this whole AI thing takes.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love it. I think you're right on the money, man. We just have to become more of tech partners, tech solutions, as opposed to just service providers, right? And on that same front, right, we have to be able to be a lot more productive with our team, right? And so we're not going to have anybody like, pulling a report or something where we used to do it because, or for whatever reason, we just have to get our people to be a lot more productive. We as an agency, a service provider, have to be more productive, right? So we got to be able to get more things done with like more tools that we have at our disposal. So I was really scared of AI about 6 months ago. I remember going about a year ago. I remember going to Agency Founders.
Yep.
In an event
You were there?
wherever it was. I was there,
Me
yeah.
too. last
Yeah,
year,
in
Tennessee.
in the
Yeah, it
cold
was snowing.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, I mean that was like the whole spiel, right? We have to become technology
Yep.
partners. And they talked about all these crazy things that they're building and whatever, whatever. And then I have a lot of other friends that are agency owners that are building a lot of tech
Hmm.
themselves.
I
Um,
think we share one of those
and I'm
mutual
not that
friends.
scared anymore. Like seeing how the person next to me uses ChatGPT, right? Versus you. I mean, you found a tool that scraped all of the videos, like 200 videos from like everything Andromeda related. And then boom, you got your map of like how your media buyer needs to change. Like I didn't do that. So you used AI to solve this problem much better than I did, right? And so it's like it's a tool that still needs skill in order to be leveraged, right? And so like that skill to leverage the tool is how we got to find new ways in order to keep our
Yep.
clients essentially.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, right? It's a matter of almost like learning how to be really good at using the tools and like understanding
Right.
that the first round it's going to give you like the generic thing that's going to give to everybody else, right? And then like
Yeah.
you start to find, I mean, I've watched so many YouTube videos, like you start to understand like how to get more out of them. And then you're like, okay, what happens if I take this one and like incorporate them together? um as I mentioned, like the media buying agents that we're building, like I have a junior one that's plugged into a certain language model, and then that one provides recommendations to a different model to review its suggestions as the senior media buyer on what to do, whether to approve, disapprove, or send back for more feedback. So it's like you just have to understand that like surface levels shouldn't exist anymore. Like I don't want just a one sentence thing. Like dig deeper. Like what is the core problem and like how deep can we get these things to go? Like I pull deep research reports on everything. Cause like I don't want to just have this thing tell me this one paragraph. Like, no, run deep research and then like let's work through this. I've almost started using it as like a full-time assistant that has pretty much expertise on everything. So I'm like, ask me any questions you need before doing this project, just like I would do to a human team member.
I feel like another ability with using AI, well, is what you were talking about earlier, which is like peeling the onion, right? And so like for me, it's about adding layers to the onion, right? It's like, okay, let's get AI to solve this problem. Great, it's solved, like it answered this problem. Now let's have somebody check that problem. Now let's have somebody provide new perspectives on that problem. Now let's have somebody create 40 of those like answers. Now let's have those like add all the 40 to like this QA. Now let's right. So it's like now you keep adding layers and then you're starting to really understand how to use AI, right? Like that's been a big insight for
Yeah,
me.
no question about it. It's like keep going
Right.
until you're like, man, this is solid. And then we're
Yeah.
still in marketing, so you still don't know if it's going to work or not. Like, but at least your hypothesis and theory is a little more sound than like back in the day where
Yeah.
like you just had guys drinking whiskey, smoking cigars, coming up with random ideas. Like at least we can
Right.
validate this now based on the data we have that's like readily available.
100%. Man, this was fun. Let's switch gears here. We were supposed to talk about some agency stuff, but I feel like we just got stuck on this AI piece. We did take a lot of, I think we have a lot of interesting cuts and segments so far. Now, I appreciate this. This was fun, man. I think we have to have some of these catch-up calls as well. I'm doing a lot on I'm doing a lot on the front of the like agentic media buying as well. I have some ad accounts that are spending 200K a month. Like maybe 100 of that or 150 of that is all agentic, you know? And we've been like learning how to solve it with like automatic media buying, because we have some accounts that are 100%, and this is super key, 100% data driven, which is like working with blogs, like you're reading the cost per click and like all of the, journey of the client, which is on a website. And then on the selling of it, on the selling side, everything is coming from like Google AdSense. So we understand like what is the bid, like everything. There's no human interaction and the product is fully digital. So that's something like you would love a lot, because it even removes some of the things with e-commerce where it's like physical products. This is like all automatic, all like data. And so because it's all data, you can integrate everything and then create models on top of it. And so it's been really fun to be 100% like, I guess like 70% agentic with media buying. But for us, like there's still a lot of hypothesis of what we have to test in order of like, what is the new article we're going to publish? Like what is the new angle that's going to be interesting for people? There's still like, we haven't been able to create an AI solution for that. It's still a lot of testing. Like the testing can be automatic, but I think there's still like strategy that you need in order to be successful. But that's a conversation. We could stay here all day, I think.
Yeah, you get me going,
and just talk.
for sure. But I mean, quickly to your point though, like we built a lot of AI and automations. What I have definitely come to the conclusion of is like we are still far away from removing the human completely. Like we've reintegrated people into some of these automations because like on its own, it's just not good enough. The context, the understanding, the relationship aspect of it, like we're just not there. And so it's really like, okay, how can we now build with checkpoints? Even the agentic side of things, like we have an approve, disapprove, or like flag for tomorrow kind of workflow in there. Because like I need my media buyers actually to read this and be like, does this actually make sense? Like, is this correct? And I don't think we're at like the full blown AI. Some of these companies say like, I think it was Salesforce completely are saying they're going to go full AI on everything. Like, I don't know. In my experience, obviously not enterprise level, we're just not there yet.
All right, so let's wrap it up with some rapid fire questions. If that works for you. What is one tool that you can't live without?
There's two answers. On the business side, Facebook Ads Manager, and on the personal side, Claude right now. Anthropic is just like my go-to for everything.
And what is a tool that a Shopify brand can't live without?
Good question. We don't do much website work. So like, I don't know on terms of Shopify apps, but someone told me about one yesterday, which is an AI page builder that I'll loop back so you can put it in the notes. That looked just insane for PDPs and offer pages.
Awesome. Okay, so what is your favorite ad creative format right now?
Right now, I'm all in on static ads. Static ads at scale.
Like headline and subhead? Yep. Okay. And so what is the average monthly ad spend that you manage across all of your client accounts?
Probably 100K.
Okay. What is one mistake that every Shopify brand makes from paid traffic?
Not considering incremental lift on ads that might not look like they're winning ads.
Okay. If you could automate one part of your life, of your business life, what would it be? One part of running your agency.
At this point, probably fully automated code writing. Yeah.
Writing.
I mean, because
Okay.
I have a whole team now, right? So like only real I have sales calls, and then I have, I guess, maybe my content. If I could automate that correctly, like HeyGen,
Mm.
avatars, 11 labs, like if I could make it me, that's what I would automate.
Okay. Yeah,
It
that's
is
hard.
hard,
That's
which is
hard.
why I
Creating
still sit in
content
front of the
is,
camera every week.
oh my
Yeah.
God. I know. Me
Yeah.
too. All right. So what is one unconventional tactic that you've used to bring in new clients?
Honestly, the one last year that was kind of outside of my scope, because I'm always a paid media guy, was LinkedIn.
Mm.
LinkedIn has
Okay.
been very, very critical to our growth.
Yeah, we're like, I think we're vibing right now because we're both like from, this kind of like main media buyer approach to things. It's like I also just run like inbound ads for my team. I'm like ads, solve everything. Okay, that's cool. Now, what is one e-commerce marketing trend that you think is overrated right now?
Shopping on ChatGPT.
Okay.
I just, I think, I haven't dove too deep into it. I do think it'll be more impactful when remember a couple of years ago, everyone was like, hey, voice search is going to be the best thing ever. And it completely fizzled out and no one ever used it again. I think, AI search and shopping will be impactful, but I saw some claims made on a podcast last week that's saying like, AI shopping will be the death of e-com brands and like Shopify brands. And I just can't get behind that.
Okay. And then my last question for you is if you had a bet on one marketing channel to scale your agency for the next few years, which one would it be?
I still go Facebook and Instagram, but I'm seeing a lot of
Yeah.
buzz around Reddit ads right now, which is
Okay.
intriguing. And I can't say for one or the other. I haven't done it yet. But for the people who are going to Reddit searching for marketing problems is pretty huge. And so the theory makes sense.
Sweet. Well, Chris, you're super knowledgeable about running ads, and this conversation has been super fun for me. What is one message or one advice that you have to other agency owners that are starting out, have been in it for a couple years? What would you tell them right now?
Systemize everything, document everything. I would say that was probably my biggest flaw in the beginning, was I built the company around me and my knowledge and not documenting the things that needed to be documented to get the same outcomes. Build the business by documenting everything and then hiring people to do those things.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And where can people learn about Blue Water Marketing?
Sure. So my LinkedIn, as I just mentioned, I think it's Christopher Marrano or Chris Marrano. We'll leave it in the description. My
We'll
my
put it down here.
Instagram is the Chris Marrano, which is more of like kind of fun stories and like less professional. And then my YouTube channel, Chris Marrano.
Chris Marrano, let's go. Chris, thank you for joining us. It's been super fun to talk to you. I think there's a lot of nerding out on ads that we still have to do. So we'll invite you to come back to the podcast again in the future. And for everybody listening, if you found this valuable, please share with a friend and hit that subscribe notification. It really helps us keep going and keep this Growth Lab sessions alive. And, we're wrapping up with Chris of our season 1 of this podcast. 2025 was like we did 35 agency owners that came on the podcast, and now we're switching up the format a little bit. We're gonna make it in a way that Chris, for example, as a guest, can come on and actually deep dive into one single topic. So when you're watching something for 60 minutes, you're going to get so much value out of it to solve that specific pain point, just like Chris and I are solving through our ads. So Chris, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. For everyone watching, I'll see you in season 2.